Have you ever noticed how irresistible it is to pop bubble wrap? That satisfying little burst, the tiny explosion under your fingers. It's like we're all hardwired to destroy those perfect air pockets. But bubble wrap was never meant to be popped at all. It was originally invented in 1957 as textured wallpaper, and we're all participating in a massive accidental addiction that started the moment someone discovered those air pockets could be squeezed. The story behind those perfect air pockets is completely different from what you'd expect. Bubble wrap was invented in 1957 by engineers Alfred Fielding and Mark Chavans in Hawthorne, New Jersey. They sealed two shower curtains together, creating a smattering of air bubbles, which they originally tried to sell as textured wallpaper. They envisioned a three-dimensional wall covering that would appeal to the rebellious Beat generation of the late 1950s, walls with a cushioned, futuristic look. The wallpaper flopped spectacularly. People in the late 1950s weren't interested in having bubbles on their walls. When the product failed as wallpaper, they pivoted. The team sold it as greenhouse insulation, figuring those trapped air pockets might help regulate temperature in growing environments. Greenhouse insulation was actually tested in real growing environments, but it proved ineffective. Two failed attempts, same bubble-filled plastic sheets. What they'd created was a manufacturing process that formed perfect air cushions between layers of plastic film. But they had no idea what those cushions were actually perfect for. The engineering was sound. They were granted patents for the process and equipment of embossing and laminating materials. They explored more than 400 different applications, in fact, 400 different uses, and none of them involved the one thing that would make bubble wrap famous, that irresistible urge to pop those air pockets. The breakthrough came completely by accident in 1960, when IBM needed to ship their revolutionary 1401 computer. Suddenly, those failed wallpaper bubbles found their true calling, not as decoration or insulation, but as the ultimate protective cushioning. And the popping phenomenon that drives us all crazy today? That was never part of the plan at all. But here's the thing. That accident would turn out to be more culturally significant than anything the inventors originally imagined. So after hearing about 400 failed attempts before IBM accidentally discovered bubble wrap's true purpose, do you think the best innovations happen by accident or through deliberate planning? Drop your answer in the comments below. Now let's dive into the science behind why popping those bubbles feels so impossibly satisfying. That accidental addiction isn't just psychological marketing. There's actual neuroscience behind why popping bubble wrap feels so impossibly satisfying, and it reveals something fascinating about human stress responses. Research from the early 1990s measured stress levels in people who popped bubble sheets versus those who abstained. Those who popped 2 sheets of bubble wrap reported feeling calmer and more alert afterward than before they started. And they also reported higher levels of calmness and alertness than the control group. The satisfaction happens on multiple levels simultaneously. First, there's the physical release mechanism. Popping a bubble creates a moment of intense stress followed by immediate release. That release of pressure triggers our brains to produce feel-good chemicals like dopamine and norepinephrine. There's also a muscle tension component. The repetitive action channels nervous energy in a way similar to using a stress ball, leaving physical tension behind. But the real magic happens when you combine the tactile feedback with the auditory satisfaction. The popping sound itself is a powerful sensory trigger. When you pop a bubble, you get instant gratification, something our brains are wired to crave. Every single pop delivers that neurochemical reward cycle in real time. Here's what makes this scientifically wild. An accidental invention that was supposed to be wallpaper, then greenhouse insulation, accidentally created the perfect stress relief mechanism. Those engineers in 1957 had unknowingly designed the ideal combination of tactile feedback, auditory satisfaction, and neurochemical reward, all wrapped up in something that was never meant to be touched at all. The failure became more culturally significant than any deliberately designed stress relief product could have been, precisely because it tapped into something fundamental about how our brains process tension and release. The unintended consequence turned out to be the design that human psychology actually needed. So bubble wrap was never supposed to be satisfying. It was supposed to be invisible. But an accident in 1960 turned a failed wallpaper into a global obsession. And the popping we can't resist became more culturally significant than anything its inventors planned. Subscribe for more hidden stories behind everyday objects.